All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my last review for The Walking Dead Season 9, because this one is for the finale now, Episode 16, The Storm. Alright, dudes, and spoiler warning, if you have not seen this finale episode yet, you're going to want to watch it before you watch my review. Okay, man, so the final episode for The Walking Dead Season 9. It has been an incredible season, I think, a season of so much change, the most change we've probably ever seen in a season of The Walking Dead from beginning to end, where you have the whole roster kind of totally switch up almost entirely from who was basically at the forefront at the beginning of the season with Rick and a lot of the, Maggie and all these other characters now at the end of the season, totally different time frame, totally different set of characters really at the forefront with Daryl and Ezekiel and Carol and Michonne and Judith, and just totally reinvented show, almost taking a book out of Fear the Walking Dead's page. If you guys didn't see it, by the way, there's a Season 5 trailer for Fear the Walking Dead. I'll have the link in the description for you for it, for my review, and the review's in the channel right now. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can definitely check that out. Fear the Walking Dead going to premiere June 2nd, so definitely wanted to mention that. And it did. In a lot of ways, this was kind of like, maybe not a reboot, but it's a reinvention of The Walking Dead this season with what we've seen. And this finale was actually funny to me, because we actually got snow. We haven't had snow where I live for over a month, and it's almost April now, right? After midnight here, we'll be in April in no time. And we actually got snow last night. So there's snow outside on the ground right now. So it's kind of funny. I put out the garbage, just like snow everywhere. And then you go watch The Walking Dead, and it just made me feel even more cold because the temperature dropped here a little bit. And then you're watching The Walking Dead. There's just snow everywhere in an episode that really felt nothing like Walking Dead. I mean, it couldn't be more unfamiliar than it is. I mean, it's as unfamiliar for Walking Dead as you can almost possibly get. You have, like I said, all the characters have been changed up this year, basically, and you have the snow everywhere. You have the blizzard going in two different locations at the same time. We have basically two different groups. We have the Alexandria group with Judith and Negan and Eugene, Rosita, and all the others, Gabriel. And then you have the other group, which is kind of out traveling around. They end up going to the sanctuary, which was fun for a little bit. And you have there Michonne, Ezekiel, Daryl, Carol, Lydia, and the rest there. But it was good, man. I did enjoy the episode all the way through. There were some cool things in this episode that we never got to see anything like. Zombie Kill of the Week's got to go to Daryl for the icicle kill, right? You guys remember? In the first few years of the series, I used to do like a Zombie Kill of the Week every week, and I'd mention my favorite zombie kill with some of the different creative ways that they would kill zombies. Daryl's got the best ones. He's got like a golf club kill, if you guys remember. Season, what was that, second half of 4. Still, he's got like a trunk kill where he slams the trunk on one of the walkers' heads. And now, as unbelievable as it sounds, he has an icicle kill where he grabs a big-ass icicle and stabs it in the eye of a walker, which was just so cool, right? It just made me think of, earlier on in the series when they used to have a lot of these different creative sort of kills for walkers in The Walking Dead. So let's take things from the top for the storm, right? And we'll go through scene by scene and give our thoughts on each one. We start things off with the radio. And we have Ezekiel, basically. I want to say if there's one kind of spotlight character for the episode, Ezekiel might be it for this one. And you really got to feel for him now, because basically, as Negan said at the end of the episode, he knows what it's like to lose a kingdom or lose a group like that, a community like that, and it sucks big time. So you have the radio with Ezekiel talking about the kingdom falling apart. We did get to see this one in kind of the sneak peek video for this week, so we knew it was coming, but it was still a huge event to actually see in the Walking Dead series, and it was a great introduction for the episode where he's talking about be valiant to all of us together. So the community's kind of coming back together now. Michonne's seeing it as a mistake that they separated up so much, and the only reason why Alpha and the Whispers were able to infiltrate the fair and do what they did was simply because the people didn't know each other. The people from the kingdom didn't know all the people from the Hilltop, didn't know all the people from Alexandria. So they were very distant. Oceanside should deserve some kind of mention in there, even though they're just involved loosely, right? But yeah, so is it possible that some lady named Deborah could just come waltzing in and start capturing people and stuff? Yeah, it is, because they didn't know any of each other. So she does point that out, which I liked in this episode. I'm not sure if absolutely every single person from the kingdom is still with Ezekiel and with the others, and has actually moved now to the Hilltop, or as Jerry says, the King Top, which I kind of like. I like that name, right? It's kind of cool. So they've seemingly kind of moved into the Hilltop in this episode. So we're basically down to, from all the different communities, if you look at All Out War, there was a Sanctuary, the Kingdom, Alexandria, and the Hilltop. Now we're basically down to 2 out of those 4, which is Alexandria and the Hilltop still standing, with us not really, I want to say, having a lead or leader for the Hilltop right now. There's kind of a good part where Ezekiel looks at the charter and you see Tara's name there signed, and of course they think of that, and tensions are a bit high in this episode. There's a part where Ezekiel kind of gets territorial with Daryl, or maybe a little bit standoffish with Daryl, confrontational with Daryl, because he sees that Carol and Daryl have an old school friendship that predates his relationship with Carol, and he's wise, right? Ezekiel's very smart. He's very understanding of situations, and he does. He's not sure if there's any kind of romantic, possibilities between the two. Maybe he thinks there isn't, but at the same time, he's kind of in a state right now after losing Henry, after losing his son, and now Carol's basically, and losing the kingdom, and now Carol is pretty much going to leave him there and go to Alexandria. He's sort of losing everything. And Carol, talks about the fairy tale, and that it was good, but it wasn't real, and so she goes to give back the ring, which he refuses to take back, and he pushes it back at her to tell her that no, she is to keep that. So some very sad scenes throughout the episode. There's a few of them. I mean, there's that one. There's Lydia and what's going on with Lydia. So Lydia is struggling with suicide in this one. She is. And it totally, completely reasonable. Like, some people say, well, what is she doing? Putting her arm up to the zombie, this kind of thing. So if you guys didn't know, masochism usually, most of the time, is caused by extreme guilt. So one of the results of people who feel extremely guilty, especially people who have a strong superego, is they can get into masochism because they feel the guilt, right? They feel extreme guilt, so they hurt themselves, right? Now, Lydia in this situation, it relieves them of the guilt. It's why people, if they commit a crime or they do something wrong, sometimes they'll turn themselves in. A lot of times they won't. They can use drugs and things like that to kind of quiet down the superego, or kind of shut it down. So you can drink a lot, you can do heavy drugs. It shuts off the superego. So if you shut it off, basically, then you can get through. But a lot of times people will seek out punishment if they feel guilty for the things they've done before. So Lydia is in a situation here where it's a bit of a routing problem too, but it's so overwhelming that she can't help but blame herself. So is it her fault that Alpha went nuts and did all that stuff? No. But she knew that Alpha was capable of that. So the loss was so drastic that it's the type of scenario where she's going to blame herself regardless, because it's just such an immense lost. The amount of people that Alpha killed, basically a dozen from just last episode, maybe plus there may be more that we're not aware of. So there may be more that we don't know of from some of the communities, like whether or not the Oceanside lost anybody, we don't know. Whether or not there's other people there too that were killed at the same time. There could be others as well, but the minimal count is at least a dozen plus. For what happened with her, so she's going to blame herself. So she turns to the masochism. So she's basically contemplating allowing this walker stuck in the ice to bite her. She wants Carol to kill her, and that would I guess sort of make her feel better, or at least absolve her of the guilt for what has happened prior. So this is all totally within the realms of natural in terms of, some people confused about this kind of thing. That's normal that somebody would want to do that given what they've done. Especially if they're a nice person with a pretty strong superego, then that's what they're going to go ahead and want to do. So that all made sense. You kind of view, at least for me when I'm watching it through, Lydia as sort of a victim in this case, and that, she couldn't. Basically, the situation between her and Henry, they got caught up with one another at an age where that happens, right? Your teenage years, hormones are running high, this kind of thing, and Henry's feeling a bit left out because you have Enid who's in a relationship with Alden, and they come back with that a little bit in this one with Alden kind of drilling Lydia or being kind of rude to her, and Daryl has to kind of step in and let him know, like, it's not cool, man. But it totally makes sense for Alden. You can't blame him either. His girlfriend just got her head cut off and put on a bike. So there's some tensions running high in the episode as a result of the insane scenes that we saw in episode 15. I also liked in the intro how they came back to the water pump and the different hydraulics and things they had going at the kingdom that was going through for a while. Like, you remember, Henry would go and he would fix the machine. He would do what he had to do. They'd patch it again. They'd patch it again. I thought that was really clever how we've seen that kind of over time, and I always felt it was just filler, like it didn't matter. But now we actually see that, no, all those scenes where you saw him trying to kind of patch up the water, whatever it was there, the hydraulics of the pump or whatever was going on, and kind of the whole thing just when the temperature kind of cooled. I like this one too because this happens in real life a lot, like during the wintertime and that, when things get really cold, all of a sudden you start having all these problems, or the temperature really fluctuates or changes a lot. All of a sudden you have all these problems around the house or with your equipment and stuff because the drastic changes in temperature can cause that. So I really liked how that fit in so nicely, that all this time at the kingdom they had this thing that Henry would go off and have to fix it, and they would have it, and they'd have scenes in the room where they were doing all that with the equipment. And now it finally, with the cold, it explains it perfectly that the whole damn thing seized up, broke down basically, and it made it so that the kingdom was no longer able to continue. They had to let it go because it just wasn't worth trying to keep going anymore once everything broke down and the cold came, and they had no choice but to kind of head out and in order to survive. So I love the intro, and I love the stuff with Ezekiel. We get a mention of Maggie, so nothing from Maggie. They hadn't heard anything from Maggie yet. The council discussions about that. We get the sense it's been a few months, or at least, a few months since the events of episode 15. So again, going along with the same kind of style that we've seen all season, episode to episode, there are a lot of time skips throughout The Walking Dead Season 9. There was time skips even before, the 6-year time skip with Rick and after All Out War. There was one after Maggie was attacked. There was all that. And now we get another, yet a few months, if it's just a few months, type of time skip here after the events of episode 15. But it's still, obviously, a few months is not enough to process the loss of Henry, where, they were kind of a family unit with Henry and Ezekiel and Carol for all those years during that time skip. So that would have been, what is that, like 8 years or something, 7 or 8, a long time, right? Something like that. The 6 plus 1.5 plus months both ways. So probably like 8 years or something like that. They were a family. So that really impacts kind of the way you kind of feel in this episode as you're watching it through. You get an appreciation or understanding that it's actually been all these years they've been together, like 8 years or so, and it's really sad that, Ezekiel and Carol have lost their son. Now they're losing their community. They're having to move, and Carol decides that she wants to, no fault of Ezekiel's, but she just wants to kind of get away from that whole sort of family unit that they had going there. The whole situation is too painful for her to stay, so she kind of wants to just go back to Alexandria and kind of switch things up for herself, which, again, makes total sense, for her character as well, too. So we have Gabriel, Rosita, and Eugene, and Negan. Negan's got to come out. So you guys know. You know it right away, right? I love all the Negan stuff. You know it right away. As everybody says, like, Trev, as soon as I saw Negan do this or that, I just thought of you, and I thought, Trev's going to love this. And you're right. I always do. So in this one, we get to see Negan kind of rescue, in a way, Judith, sort of. Kind of. So she goes off, and, we see this type of thing, which there's a moment in the comics later on, it's somewhat kind of, they got to redeem Negan a bit. So he goes out and he gets to be the hero and save Judith because dogs run off, and Daryl asked her to take care of dogs, so she's got to go and do that. But she's little, and and so the snow and everything, and so Negan goes after her, and it's kind of cool. I really love those scenes. I love the banter between him and Gabriel, right, about being predictable, which is really funny, right? So father, not the father. I like that. So that was good. It's a great line, and I did laugh at that one. But it's not the same hearing Negan do jokes now, because he's just like this guy who's like there, and he's been in a cell all this time, so he can laugh. He can say the jokes and laugh, and I'll laugh, and you guys will laugh. But there's nobody. When he had the sanctuary and he had the saviors, he could do that, and it's like it was a different spot. Now he just comes across kind of as like this funny, no good type of person nobody wants around. This annoying guy that nobody wants around. The love quadrangle is funny. Girl's doc is also her baby's daddy, and then the questions of her checkups and what was going on during the checkups. So that's funny. So I love that. All the Negan stuff was great, very classic and very fun. So then we get into the stuff about. Okay, so there's the line about from Rosita that we could tell Michonne was an accident because no one's untying Negan from the chains. It's funny. So I like that one too, as they kind of roll out from that. So we go back to the other one, and we've got Daryl and Carol. We're gonna make it, and you've got Carol losing herself again, right? Because she's lost basically all this. It's just too much to handle, and no mention yet of possible war with the Whisperers. We get the sense right now they don't want that. They're not motivated for a war against the Whisperers. It's not something that they want to do, but they have to cross through the territory, and maybe Alpha's borders has set it to where they can't that easily, especially in the snow and everything. It's not going to be as easy for them to kind of connect between the communities. And so, in this episode, they're forced to kind of cross. If they had Rick's bridge, and again, I really love this too, because it brings us back to the beginning of the season with the bridge and how important that was, and building the communities together, building bridges and connecting the communities together. Because that's down, they have to cross over the ice, and they have to travel through Alpha's territory to get there. And they do go over the ice, and we get to see that, and nobody falls through or anything like that. That's pretty good, because that would have been a bit predictable. That's what I was kind of expecting, Gabriel and Negan's predictability in terms of that. I kind of thought somebody would fall, like maybe Lydia or somebody would fall on the ice, and they'd have to do the rope. You guys just know the regular the rope thing and pull them out and everything. So they didn't do that. That would have been too predictable. So that was fun that they didn't. But it was exciting because you got all these walkers around. Like I said, Daryl's had the best kill, I think, with the ice kill. But Michonne had a cool one when she cuts both the heads off. They're like frozen, just standing there. But you can tell they're going to de-thaw. Eventually, they're going to come back, right? Like walkers are not that easy to take down in terms of like just the weather. Like they can freeze, and then I guess in the spring they'd unfreeze and they'd go around kind of like half walking or whatever, whichever parts are still working, crawl if they have to on the ground. So she cuts off both their heads, so that's cool. And there's a bunch of different ones where they're coming up out of the ground. Ezekiel gets one, Daryl gets another, and there's a whole bunch of different cool little kills in there with the ice, the snow walkers or the ice zombies. Which was pretty fun. So they cross over. We get to see the blizzard, and I put a sweater on when I was watching during the commercials because it made me feel really cold, right, to watch it through. But it just, there was parts, especially when they're walking down, which reminded me, like, am I watching The Walking Dead or am I watching Game of Thrones? Because in a lot of ways, it's starting to feel more like Game of Thrones. You have the snow everywhere. Everyone's using hand-to-hand weapons like bow and arrows, and Daryl's still got the crossbow, so that's cool. But the knives and all this kind of stuff, it's just kind of. It's kind of cool to see it in this kind of state because we've never seen it before, and it was just different, but yet cool at the same time. And then, like we mentioned earlier, the scenes between Carol and Lydia, I did like the end of it where it's kind of a fake out when Carol kind of like goes into aggression and kind of winces and then gets ready to attack, and but it's not Lydia, it's a walker, so she kills the walker. So. It was a pretty good fake out, and I didn't really think that Carol was going to kill Lydia, but there was a second there where it was like, well, maybe they could do that. I don't know how useful Lydia is as a character anymore, but that's not really Carol to do that. I don't think Carol would do that at this time. You're not weak, and it also I liked it because it sort of made you think, if you think back in the series to the very beginning of the show, where you had Carol and you had Ed, and Carol was. Carol didn't really necessarily believe in herself enough to leave Ed right away. So I thought in this one, when she mentioned her being weak, it kind of reminded me of where Carol started out, right, at the beginning, and then she became just this insanely strong survivor that had rescued the group and did all this kind of stuff and had really evolved and become such a strong woman. It kind of, the line there about her being weak and you're not weak, it kind of just made me think of the beginning of the show where Carol started out, and maybe Carol feeling sorry for Lydia and not wanting to kind of view, like, her wanting her to believe in herself, because at the beginning of the series and the beginning situations of The Walking Dead, Carol didn't always believe in herself and had, the abusive husband and all that stuff that was going on. So I like that. It made me think back to all that stuff earlier, and it was good. It was really good. So Judith with Negan and the blizzard, the dog and everything, and he hurts himself with the leg, and then he kind of brings her back and all that, and that's cool. The Hilltop, we have, the Daryl. Then we've got so the Daryl had smashed, right, of the walker outside the gates. It's kind of like just there. He just smashes his head, which I thought was fun. And then we get the painting. So we get a nice painting of Glenn and some of the others, which was really cool. And the King Top mention, which I did like. And the scene between Ezekiel and Carol that we mentioned. Carol leaving and the fairy tale sort of being over. And Judith and Michonne, it's cold, right? The cute scene where she goes back and she holds her. She's got the rosy red cheeks because of just kind of getting sick from the cold and everything. And it was just a cute scene to see her come back. And then again, so I think we can probably finally now say that RJ is in fact real, because he's being hit by snowballs, right? so I like that one. And even Daryl hit him with a snowball. So if he wasn't there, Daryl wouldn't have thrown in that direction. So there you go, guys. So maybe a final kind of thing for that. We can put that fan theory to rest now. It can end now with season 9. I think the snowball fight has proven that RJ is in fact real, right? So that he is not isn't, is in fact real. Okay, so let's be clear on that one. That's good, and I like to see kind of the snowball fight as things are going through there. And then we have Negan and Michonne and the thank you situation, and the same spot that he was in after Rick cut his throat open, which was fun, and him referring to Judith as a little Spitfire, which is cute and fun and getting better, and Dr. Baby Daddy, which I like that line too. That was fun. And do you care? And then, Negan's like, doesn't really know, but maybe he feels sympathetic for him. And Negan's bored anyway. He's just sitting there all the time, month after month after month, time skip after time skip. Negan's just sitting there for all these years. He's bored as shit, and he wants to talk and do stuff, and he's just so bored. So no one ever thinks that they're evil, right? So they never see themselves as evil. A nice kind of lead-in as we get to see Alpha and the Whisperers again. And I'm not sure at this point if we're supposed to view it as the Whisperers didn't know they crossed, or if they did know. I'm not sure. I mean, I watched the episode through. I don't think I missed anything, but I'm not sure. You guys can leave a comment below on this one. I think it's arguable. Do you think that the Whisperers noticed that they crossed? I took it as they didn't, because they were away for a while, and they kind of maybe, I'm not sure if they walked further, like maybe they went south or something because it was getting cold. I'm not sure. So they decided to kind of go south a bit and then kind of come back. I'm not sure, but you have her whipping herself, and it didn't seem in that scene like there was as much snow or like it was as cold as during the blizzard and all that. So I get the sense that maybe they were either gone for a while during the blizzard time. I'm not sure, but kind of hard to say and probably arguable. So leave that for a comment below on that, guys. Let me know what you think about that, and we'll discuss that more afterwards. So what comes next? So she's having Beta whip her, on the same spot that she did with Lydia, and in kind of brutal fashion to kind of beat the, I guess, through pain, beat the weakness out of her. So it's kind of brutal as she sits there intensely, and she, villain origin type stuff, right? For what comes next and what she's going to do next, I guess it's going to be war, whether they like it or not, whatever, whichever way it goes, it's just going to be. And then Ezekiel will come back from this on the radio with Judith, and a nice conversation there. And then we fade things out in the end, but someone saying, anybody out there? And you can hear a voice on the radio. But as closely as I listened, I could not tell who the F it is. I saw some people saying they think maybe it was a female voice, so maybe Maggie. One of the fan theories before this was, could it be Rick? But it didn't sound to me, I was checking for, it didn't sound to me like that at all. So I don't know. Was it Maggie? Was it somebody else? Somebody from Combo? I don't know, man. Unfortunately, if you're looking for answers as far as that one goes for me right now, I got to watch it back a couple more times and maybe even slow down the audio and listen to it more clearly for Season 10. So that's basically our last kind of moment to leave things off with The Walking Dead Season 9. Negan has started to redeem himself a little bit in the eyes of Michonne and the others. You have the only communities left, Alexandria and the Hilltop. You have the Whispers had left for a while and are back now, and Alpha looks like she's gonna do some stuff we'd hope she wouldn't do, but it's probably gonna be war whether they like it or not. And so they do still have Lydia, and Lydia does say that she doesn't believe it's going to stop until she's dead, or they hand her back to the Whispers or whatever. It's going to continue, and maybe she's right about that. She knows her mother, so it's what it is. And then we have the voice at the end to kind of leave things off. Maybe a question of whether or not, I don't know who it's supposed to be. Will Maggie return Season 10? What will the events be that lead to Michonne leaving? The radios are working now, so that's cool. And that basically sets us up for what should be another great season for The Walking Dead Season 10 next year when it returns, likely in October. So let me know what you guys think, man. In terms of score for the finale, I'm going to give it an 8.6 out of 10. I liked it. It was a lot of what I had expected to see after such a huge episode 15. It was cool to see the storm. It was different. We'd never seen anything like that before. And it also addressed, as you might expect, that all these characters have just been killed. It's not like people are just going to get over that right away and just move on with their lives. That's not how it works. Alden will have baggage. Lydia will be hated for what happened. Carol and Ezekiel's marriage will be in question because of how much they've lost, the kingdom falling, and just all this different stuff that's happened. Let me know what you guys think. So those are my thoughts on this final episode for The Walking Dead Season 9. I hope you guys enjoyed all the reviews this year, all the videos. We're going to keep going on strong with Season 10. I'll have some more videos for you soon. I'll have a predictions video after this one for what I think we'll see in Season 10. And lots of videos for Fear coming up soon. Game of Thrones reviews will start up pretty soon. Next week is the Game of Thrones premiere. Also smart for Game of Thrones to avoid Walking Dead territory, right? Stay out of my territory. You gotta, it's like Whispers, Game of Thrones on this side and Walking Dead on this side. They stay out of each other's territory. Fear the Walking Dead premieres after, The Walking Dead finishes first, and now it's okay for you to do your Game of Thrones stuff when The Walking Dead's not on, because they know people are going to watch that too, right? So, of course, yeah, you don't want to conflict with either one. If you're another company, you don't want to go on Sunday nights against The Walking Dead, and vice versa for Game of Thrones for anybody else too. Good situation. So let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. How are you feeling? That's it for The Walking Dead Season 9. Thank you guys for all your support all throughout another year, and hopefully we'll have another a good year next year to continue on forward with now being in double digits, the 10th year of The Walking Dead, and over 10 years of this channel here of Trev Shan 2. Subscribe to the bottom left if you're new. Check back in half an hour for the our predictions video of next season. And let me know the biggest one in the comments. Who do you think's voice it was in the radio? As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. I'll see you soon.